What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you my first place Majespecter profile. That's right, these furry little buggers ended up getting us all the way to first place at locals. No one expected it, no one could deal with it, and the deck is incredibly powerful. It is very, very fast paced, and what I mean by that is you need to be able to control going first and then hopefully push in for an OTK the next turn, because as you can tell, most of the stats on these monsters are relatively weak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the profile. I'm going to do it differently, as you can see by the wider scope on the video. I'm just going to lay out all of the cards that I was playing, and then I'll talk you through why I chose to play the ratios that I did, and then move further forward from there. So starting off with, of course, the Majespecters. So as you can see, we maxed it out on Raccoon, Yatta, and Porcupine, and then I only played the one Ogama, the one Cat, and the one Kibi. Now I actually found myself more times than not when I was going into game 2 siding out the Cat. Because the game was such fast paced, I never felt that I would get this to the end phase. So when I was siding it out, I'll show you my side deck at the end of the video as well, but it was just one of the very easy side outs in order to kind of get everything that I needed to, because then being able to side those out definitely gave me the ability to, yes, I lost a low scale, but I was also taking out, I should probably show these at the exact same time, I was also messing around with the ratios of the Dracos. So I was playing Triple Majesty. This card was like MVP. There was so many times I was open up Majesty and I was like, this card's broken. Because what I was able to do is Majesty plus any other Draco Slayer or Majespecter search out the power load. And then if I didn't want the other monster in my other scale, I would destroy it, activate the power load. Power load would then special summon out the Majesty, and the Majesty then gave me access to one of my 3 field spells, which 2 were very, very oppressive, and then 1 was an extension. I did find myself siding out Ignis Heat quite a lot alongside the Cat as well. So these 2 could arguably be cut completely. I still like the Cat as a go first option, but I just don't feel that it adds much to you. Like, it's a level 3, so it doesn't help you with your XYZ plays. It searches in the end phase, which is okay, but more times than not, when you're going into new, you'll probably be using Bombuku plus Porcupine, and then you'd be putting Kibi and Ogama into the extra deck, because then you summon these out, and that's how you're going to get into your Tornado and your Tempest, and both of those are really, really oppressive. The fact that Porcupine resets the spells as well was golden. So yeah, this ratio has pretty much worked for me. I wouldn't take these out completely. I still like having them in as forms of extensions. But ultimately, I feel that when I was siding, they were very easy to side out with no issues whatsoever. Let's go over the spells and traps for the Majespecters. So for the spells, of course, we were playing Triple Wind, pretty standard on that one, alongside the one Storm. Now, I actually put this into main deck, not at the last minute, but as I was going to the event, because what I liked about this is if I was against Fire King, I would take out the Cyclone because I didn't want to destroy their monsters, and I'd actually favour the Storm a lot more. Being able to bounce them was very, very good. I actually had to bounce the Nibiru as well, which was pretty cool. Tornado and Tempest. Now, the only issue with these 2 here is that we don't have a card that recycles them. Porcupine should have allowed you to set a spell or a trap, would have been golden. But the fact it only lets you set the spell from the graveyard is why it's worth utilising Storm and Cyclone in the deck. Like I said, if I was in the Fire King matchup, I would actually take Cyclone out. Or if I was in a matchup where they wanted their cards to be destroyed, I would go for Storm instead. It just felt so much better. Wind is incredibly powerful. The fact that you tribute to special from the deck, great, but then if you don't tribute to special from the deck, you can special summon from the graveyard. And the reason that was so important is there were so many times my opponent was trying to break my board. Like, I ended up facing my Dolces, and they kaiju'd my Rui, which is my XYZ. So every time they did that, I was like, God damn it. But because I had recycled this, I could then use this to bring back any of the materials from the graveyard, trigger their effects to set, which more times than not was Kibi or Ogama. So Ogama would be a little bit more effective for you. And then straight away, it put one back on the board. I was also being hit with stuff like Dark Waters No Mores and everything else. But being able to recycle those monsters was really important, because all of the spells and traps require you to tribute a wind spellcaster. So as soon as your opponent cleared them off, all of your spells and traps become dead. So it was all about regaining or maintaining that resource, and that's where Winds comes in. Like, this gave you that resource. So even if your opponent cleared your monster lineup, this still was a saving grace to then unlock the ability to activate all of those. One cool way to deal with hand traps, 2 Pot of Prosperities. I saw it like once or twice, which is why it's only a 2. Sometimes it can be really good, but even when I saw it, I only banished 3. So I don't think it's that effective in the deck. You just need something to help you dig. For the field spells, I was playing the 1 Pegasus, so this is your extension one. So imagine Majesty Pegasus summons itself out, discard a card, search out Pegasus here, activate that, destroy the Majesty, because it's always treated as a Majespecter card, and then it would tribute itself out to go into Bambuku or Yatta, which then becomes your 1-card combo to get everything going, to get you into a Nui, to get into your New and your Rui, and that would then give you your Tornado Tempest combo. Necro Valley, so this was a Ghost second field spell, especially when I was utilised, or Ray Ratcher matchup, for example, but also Fire King matchup, Tri Brigade matchup, really, really important. So what I did was I went with Secret Village of the Spellcasters as a go first option, because to me this is completely useless if you're going second. Necro Valley for go second, and Majesty Pegasus for extension. Again, when I was into the side deck, I was siding one of these out, whichever was the least effective, or if neither of them were effective, very easy 2 side outs. I feel that in every matchup currently, either one of these is going to be effective for you, so having the option to go for one or the other was really good. Yes, of course, it would suck if you hard open up any of these, but the idea is just going through Majesty Pegasus was so good, because not only did it bait out hand traps on trying to get to a field spell, because a lot of people feared these cards, but it also then meant that your New was more effective or more likely to resolve. And New, of course, is one of the weakest spots because it doesn't have the built-in Majespecter protection from not being able to be targeted or destroyed, which would be golden if it did. Unfortunately, it didn't. And then moving on to the hand trap lineup. Well, I say hand trap lineup, I've obviously got the 3 Fenris, Ashes, and Imperms. So Fenris was great because you were able to special summon down Fenrir. And then before you used its effect, you made sure you did the Majesty into the scales, summon the Majesty out, use Fenrir, search out the second copy of itself. Majesty summons itself, discard the second Fenrir you've just searched to get you to your field spell. And keep in mind that Majesty isn't a discarder's cost, it's add the field spell and then discard. So technically you can add the field spell and discard the field spell. But Fenrir put in a lot of work, and then Imperm and Ashes. If you're wondering why there is no droll in the main, I forgot my drolls. I was actually kind of happy that I did. Yes, of course you can tribute off droll, which is really, really funny to activate your spells and traps. But I was quite happy that I forgot droll, because it meant that I didn't rely on it, and it allowed me to play different options in my extra deck, which is really, really kind of effective. So moving on to the extra deck, of course, we were playing for our Link monsters 2 of the Majespecter New. This card's absolutely insane. I don't think it needs 3 personally. I feel 2 of New and 2 of Rui was everything I needed in the deck to kind of get me where I needed to go. I also then played the 1 Majesty Paladin, because when you activate New, it locks you into Majespecters and Draco Slayers for the rest of the turn, which wasn't the end of the world, but it did kind of give you a couple of different options that you may or may not want to try out, depending on where you wanted to take it. So ultimately, I feel it worked out quite nicely, got me everywhere I needed to go, but then also gave me the ability that if I'd already made New and I had more monsters to extend, I could then go into the Paladin. It was also another one of them ones where ultimately what it came down to was the ability of I always maintain a monster in the hand. I always made sure that I kept the Yatta in the hand, or I kept a Bambuku, so that if my board did get broken, I could start back again with the 1-card combo. And the reason for that is you also, with New, you also have your Beyond the Pendulum. So if New ended up getting impermed, you could go into Beyond the Pendulum because it never resolves and its effects negate, so you're not locked into Majespecters. The only issue with Beyond is it meant that you had to have the other scale correct in order to activate it. And again, what you can do is you can go into Beyond, and then you can go into New as well. So you're kind of being able to utilize those spaces. One other card that I utilized, but I didn't feel that I got the maximum out of it, was the Selene. Selene was actually really good in the form for its link zones pointing all down, which gave me more zones to special summon from the extra deck. But the only times that its effect was ever really utilised for it, bringing back from the graveyard, was if my Rui had been sent to the graveyard, because then I would have a Kibi or a Gama in the graveyard that I could bring back, which was really, really good when it happened, because then I would go Selene, Pendulum Summon the 3, get the zones I needed to, and then go into Access Code, and Access Code could then finish off the game because it would have a wind and a light in the graveyard at the very least. Another link free to utilise was Exceed the Pendulum, and then my defensive link monster, of course, was Appaloosa, followed up by IP and SP. Now, honestly, never went into any of these. I pretty much controlled the board with Nui, Rui, and then the zones that I needed. Because I would control the board with Tempest, I would control the board with Tornado, with Cyclone, with Storm, and then the next turn, you just needed to have multiple monsters to finish the game off, which was fine, especially if you were able to get into your Majesty Pegasus, because then that would buff all of your monsters as well. Not to mention for board ways to clear the board, you had your Ignista Prominence, and then of course you had the Fusion Monster, and then the 1 Abyss Dweller. This was only in here because if I faced a graveyard deck, I could be able to deal with it. Like, if I didn't go through New, I would go through Beyond the Pendulum, Pendulum Summon out, and then while I'm going for Rui, I would go for Abyss Dweller, or if I've extended enough, I could go for Rui and Abyss Dweller, and you're pretty much covering both bases with everything you need. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. I'll now show you my side deck and give you a bit more insight into what I decided to put in, why I decided to do it. So for the hand traps, I went with Ghost Bell, and I went with DD Crows, and I went with Nibiru's. So pretty standard on that one. I would probably rather play 3 Crows and 3 Nibs rather than 2 Bells, 2 Crows. I felt Crows were really kind of cool. They did actually put in quite a lot of work, because there was times in the Fire King matchup that even if they chain block for the Bell, you get rid of whatever they have that's a threat to you. Yes, of course, Droll would be more ideal to have in general, being in the side deck. Like I said, forgot it, so I had to adapt with what I had available to me. Triple evenly, because the deck is a control deck, if you're able to evenly your opponent and then set up all of your Pendulum monsters because you still have 5 cards in the hand to play and you only need 1 card combo to get that going, it was really, really important. Which the same could be said for Lightning Storms and Dusters, and then of course Cosmic Cyclones, which annoyingly my opponent even anti-spelled me. Like I mean, it's kind of risky because the right players were going to be playing anti-spell in their side deck. But when they did it, I luckily opened up Fenrir. So I was like, yeah, cool, special Fenrir, get rid of that. And then I was able to kind of go off. So, but that's the reason I play Cosmic Cyclone. Obviously, also to deal with the Fire King Field Spell and everything else in between. So that's it for the entire main deck, side deck, extra deck, you name it. I feel it definitely had a surprise factor to it. But I just feel that a lot of people couldn't deal with the constant back row in the form like... Being able to cycle wins, which I felt really did catch a lot of people off guard because they were like, it does this. And they all thought that it needed to tribute a card, which straight away when you're like, yeah, no, it doesn't need to tribute, I need to tribute if I want to summon it from the deck, it really does give you a massive advantage because you're like, okay, cool, just bring back from the graveyard. The only disappointing thing about it is it doesn't special from face-up extra deck, which if it did would be incredibly broken. So I understand for it. Obviously, Nui is the weak point, because stopping this can be very, very painful. The best thing about it is you can't be Ash Blossomed because it sends from the from the deck to the extra deck and then adds from the extra deck back to the hand. So it basically allowed you to play around Droll as well, which was really important. So there was a couple of times that I was getting Drolled and I was like, okay, cool. Yes, of course, Bombuku isn't effective, but if I've already opened up Porcupine... So like, for example, there was a time when I activated Pot of Prosperity, and off of Pot of Prosperity, I revealed Yatta, Winds, and Porcupine, and I chose to take the Porcupine because I already had a Majespecter in the hand, and the reason I did that was if they drolled me, if I took the Winds, yes, I could special summon, but I would only get into like a Bombuku, which would then want to search, and obviously if I wanted to search, I would be hit with Droll. So the reason I went with, so I think I also opened up Yatta or Bombuku, but I was like, off of the Pot of Prosperity, at least I can see a different kind of option. Added the Porcupine, so that ultimately what it meant was normal summon any Majespecter, special summon down a Majespecter. Even if I get drolled after being Pot of Prosperity, I'm still able to go to Nui. Nui can then put 2 in the extra, 2 in my hand. And then the only other disappointing thing for that was, at least because I could special summon Ogama could set the card. Unfortunately, Kiwi couldn't add it. But when you're setting stuff like Tempest, if you're able to recycle stuff like Winds, or if you already open up stuff like Winds and Sonics and everything like that, you're in a very good position. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope this has given you a very in-depth breakdown of the deck in general. I really do like it. I think it's really kind of cool. It's definitely, like, I used to play Majespecters way back when, mixing it with pretty much everything. So it's cool to see the deck get new support. I feel the only thing we're missing is Kirin coming back, just so that we have a stronger boss monster to do stuff with. But I would also like to see a card that allows us to recycle the traps from the graveyard, because you don't want to be playing multiples of them and you just want to recycle them. And I feel that Porcupine should have been reset a spell or trap from the graveyard. But I do understand, like, the traps are pretty busted on themselves. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.